Hello there and welcome to a brand new video. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. Now, I do hope you are doing well and your learning journey is also improving. In this video or in this lesson, we are looking at converting fractions into decimal fraction. And by the end of this lesson, you should be able to convert simple fractions into decimal and then understand the relationship between the decimal fractions and then the fractional notation. Without much ado, let's quickly go into it. So if we talk of the decimal fraction, what do we mean? Decimal fractions, they are all fractions, right? But then they are just notations. They are just notations. So a common fraction, we all know, is 1/2. But then if you want to write it with decimal notation, then it's just going to be what? A 0.5. You see that? So example, you have 3/4. And if you want to write it as a decimal notation or decimal form, we have 0.75. They are all the same, but then they just represent different notation. Hence, we want to look at how to convert these types of fractions into what? The decimal notation. And it's very simple. You see, if you want to convert from these types of fractions to the decimal notations, you just have to divide the numerator by the denominator. And I mean, you should know how to work out your long divisions. You see, so as I have said, you just divide your numerator by the denominator. That is the top divided by down. So let's look at how we work these out. So we have this first question here, which says we have to convert 2/5 to decimal. Let's look at our solution. So as I said, it's just a matter of long division. So if you know how to do your long division, this is not going to be a problem for you at all. So then we are going to put the division sign there. And as I said, it is the top or the numerator divided by the denominator. So you are going to put 2 inside and then 5 outside. You see, then we now start with our division. Now we say 5 divides 2 how many times? 5 is not going to divide 2, hence it's a 0. So we have a 0. Then a 5 times 0 gives us what? 0. Now if we subtract 0 from 2, we have what? A 2. Then since we are done with this column and 5 is still not going to divide 0, we are allowed to bring a decimal point here. And with that decimal point, it helps us to what? Increase this number by 0. Then we say 5 divides 20, the whole of 20, how many times? 4 times. So you put our 4 here. 5 times 4 gives us a 20. And this time around, if we subtract, we have nothing left. So this simply implies that our 2/5 as a fraction, as a decimal, is what we have up here, which we call the quotient. So 0.4. That is our answer for this conversion. Let's try some few more examples to enhance our understanding. As you can see, we have 3/8 and we want to convert it also into decimal. So we have our square root and then our 8 stays outside. That is, the denominator is always outside and we have the numerator inside. 8 divides 3 how many times? That is 0. So 8 times 0 gives us what? 0. And if we subtract, we have a 3. And we don't want to continue again with a 3, hence we are allowed to bring a decimal point here, which then allows us to introduce a 0. Then it becomes 30. So 8 divides 30 3 times, and 8 times 3 gives us a 24. With this now, if we subtract, we have a 6. And because we already have a decimal, we don't want to say 8 divided 6, 0. And then put a 0 there, but then we can add a 0 over here. Then 8 into 60, 7 times. And 8 times 7 gives us a 56. If we subtract that, we have a 40. You see, so it's just a repetition of the process. We add a 0 here. 8 into 40, 5 times. 8 times 5 gives us a 40. And what do we have left? Nothing. You see, now that it ends, it simply implies that our 3 over 8 then is equal to what? The numerator we have over here, which is 0.375. As simple as that. Now, there are some fractions that do not terminate. We call them repeating or recurring decimals. You see, so let's take this example and I'll explain to you what we do whenever we have such special cases. So as an example of such fractions, let's take 2 over 3 and convert it into decimal. The same process. Long division symbol, then we put our 3 and then 2 inside. 3 divides 2 how many times? That is a 0. So 3 times 0 gives us a 0. And if we subtract, we have a 2. Now we can't, or we do not want to repeat the same zeros, you see. Hence we are allowed to put a decimal point and then add a 0 here. 3 divides 20 6 times. And 3 times 6 now gives us an 18. You see, so you put down, so we write 18 down here. That is 3 into 20, 3 times 6, giving us our 18. Then now we do our subtraction. If we subtract, you realize that we have a 2. And because you already have a decimal point here, you are allowed to put a 0 here. 3 into 20, how many times? 6. And then you have 18. If you subtract, you have a 2. You're allowed to add a 0. 6. Have 18. You subtract, you have 2. You're allowed to add a 0. And you see it continues on and on and on. You see, now since we don't want that to happen, if you just see that the fraction is recurring, all you do is, the decimal is recurring. All you do is, you just say your 2 over 3 is equal to 0.6. And then you just put this on top over here. Put this symbol on top to show that it is recurring. You get it? You can write it 6 and then just show that it is recurring, whether 1 or 2. You just put it there. You get it? And that means your fraction is recurring. This is not 0.6, but then 0.6 with this on top. If you just write 0.6, then that is wrong, because 0.6 is actually 6 over 10 in fractions. Get it? But we don't want it that way. We want to show that we needed a 2 over 3. So that is it also on recurring fractions. In our next video, we'll be looking at how to convert decimal fractions into common fractions. And we will look at some of these recurrent fractions and then see how best we can do those conversions as well. So as usual, I'll leave you with a try work you can do to test your understanding. You have to convert the following to decimals, and then you have the word problem over there. I do hope this lesson was helpful, and if there's anything, you can always let me know at the comment section. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. If you've not subscribed and you think you would want to subscribe, kindly do, because if I load videos, you'll be notified as well, so that you can also learn along. Do stay safe, then have a blessed day. Bye.